Voltron Network.
Cold. What's good, guys? Welcome back to Talking at the Movies. I'm Eddie Reese Antonio.
And it's Mo. And we're back from like a week's break.
We are back. We're sorry, guys. Yes, we took a break. A lot of stuff going on in everyone's lives. We weren't even going to do this week, to be honest. As you can see, Mr. Raja is off doing God knows what, breaking curfew somewhere. Not listening, running around.
That's a good way of putting it. Doing God knows what.
Infecting everybody. If there's a spike, if you see in the news there's a spike in UK cases, you know who the one's responsible for it.
Well, you know, saying that, I did see a headline just literally before we started saying that the R number that they keep talking about has apparently gone above 1 again in England, which apparently is bad news.
Probably, yeah. It's too early to say that's because of the protest, though, isn't it? Because that takes like 2 weeks to really manifest. But I'm not actually hearing there are already spikes starting to happen stateside.
Well, I mean, regardless of where it is, yeah, I can imagine that will happen because of those protests.
Yeah. But hey, man, if there's ever a good cause, go for it. Do it. Do what you got. Yeah. Dudes, talking about movies, we have returned. There isn't much been going on, though, to be fair, in the time that we've been away. Even this week, there ain't really that much.
There's a few bits and bobs to talk about. I guess we are hitting that lull, right? While all the news that could possibly happen has happened, all filming has ceased. Although it looks like in the US they've actually set a date for when all filming is going to resume, which I think is at some point either next month or early July.
Curious to know how that's going to work, especially with it still being out there, COVID. But how many of them are taking precautions? Like I heard what Tom Cruise is doing.
Yeah, so one of the stories we're going to talk about is actually going to go into what Tom is doing.
All right, so before we get to all that, Mo, what have you been watching, sir?
Man, you know what? I've gone back and watched a few classics. Now, your definition of what a classic may be may differ from mine, because a few of them were Adam Sandler films. But
Happy Gilmore.
I've got that on my list, actually. The Waterboy and the Wedding Singer. I'll get to those in a minute. I'd like to kick off with a bona fide classic. This film has recently been restored, got a 4K release, came out last Monday, an absolutely lovely steelbook. Steven Spielberg's first smash hit, Jaws. I hadn't seen this film since, I'm going to say at some point in the 90s, I'm sure I must have watched it on telly, but I haven't seen it in 30 odd years.
It has been a long time for me too. Long time.
And man, this film still is so good today. I mean, there are a few sort of lulls, but on the whole, A, it still looks so good. B, it's like you watch it and you can say, right, this is the film that started that whole blockbuster thing. Because blockbusters just weren't a thing before this.
Not really, no. What year was this out?
So this was 75, if I recall correctly.
Really? That old?
Yeah. And there is on the disc there is it's not very long. I was quite disappointed. It's about an 8-minute featurette that talks about the restoration of Jaws. So they show like one of the vaults at Universal or wherever it is, an abandoned mine apparently is a great place to store film. They show the fact that they've got all these reels and they had to restore it, and they actually show that while 35mm film can keep quite well, but just sitting in the box it can deteriorate a little bit. You have all these scratches. I suppose it's from when it was at the cinemas and it was playing. And apparently the way they remove scratches off film is they put it through a special machine, and they're essentially using a water-based solution that just kind of removes the scratches. Although the wording that they use says it basically doesn't allow light to pass through it, so you literally can't see the scratches with the naked eye. So I assume what they mean is the scratches are still there, you just can't see them anymore.
That's weird.
Yeah, but it's I would really like to see a real in-depth, at least a half-an-hour documentary talking about how they actually restore stuff and get it from an analog sort of reel into the digital realm where they're obviously then storing it as well.
I've always been fascinated about these, the vaults where they have all these films and just all this hour after hour of all this unseen footage that was never used or restored. I'll always be fascinated, even with music. I hear about when Prince died. Apparently, he had a vault filled with ridiculous amount of music that no one's ever heard. Like that's the stuff I just want a gold mine. I just want to sit in and just.
Oh yeah, he was quite eccentric though. If you watch any of the Kevin Smith like An Evening With, he does a real good one about Prince, and he actually says that Prince even filmed like these elaborate videos.
Yeah.
For all these songs that no one has ever seen.
No one's ever seen.
It's ridiculous. I'm surprised since he's died that they haven't come out.
The family's sitting on it, man. It's just, and I think there is a dispute in the family. There's people like, it's always a way, isn't it? People always fighting.
Always a way. But if you want to see stuff about restorations, the Star Trek Next Generation Blu-ray box set has got some really good documentaries, and they really go through the stuff. And they also talk about how people who don't pay attention to their job, who don't label stuff properly. So sometimes they'll restore an episode, they'll find like a few seconds of a scene that they literally can't find, and then they'll get to like episode whatever, like 2 or 3 seasons down the line, and they'll find that film element is down there.
Bastards. Do they go back then, or they just think, fuck it, we already put it out?
So if they haven't released it, so there was a bit where they did a sampler disc just to gauge the interest. So on one of the episodes, they couldn't find like, I think it was like 10 or 15 seconds worth of footage, so they have to leave it as in an SD shape. So when they came to do the whole series, they did find the element and were able to do the episode, or at least replace that bit and bring it up to scratch.
Down. People, man.
But you will find even a big series like that, there are little bits in that where the quality suddenly just dips because they just couldn't find the H or the original element.
Crazy.
Yeah. But Jaws itself, man, the film holds up so well. If you haven't seen it in a long time, I'd
remember loving Jaws, and I grew up in London, in the middle of London, not really landlocked city. There's a river going right through the middle of it, but we're nowhere near the ocean, really. But I was scared of the beach after watching this film as a kid, even though I think I have been to the beach once as a kid. Yeah, but
well, there was the tagline, right? I can't remember what it was, but you'll be too scared to go in the water or something.
Yeah. Even though that shark don't look great, even looking back now, it's kind of the robotic rubber.
Yeah, but you don't see it. You don't see much of it right up until the end, right? So for the majority of the film, it's all really just music and little pokes of its body.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
I heard that one of the sequels actually supposed to be pretty good as well.
So apparently number 2, apparently 2 is not bad, and I think it just deteriorates after that.
Yeah.
But Spielberg never really had much to do with any of those afterwards.
Yeah. Are you curious to check out Piranha?
No.
What's his face's original movie? Oh my god, how could I freaking Avatar Man?
Oh, James Cameron.
Yeah, his first movie.
Oh right. Is it supposed to be watchable? Is it like a classic?
No, I don't know. That's why I'm curious.
I might have a look into it. It's like going to check out, say, something like American Graffiti, right? George's first big movie, and it's actually not a bad film.
Yeah,
it's actually good. It's like actually Happy Days the movie.
Yeah, and THX.
So that's like his student movie that he did, right?
Yeah,
which he then I think restored.
It's good though. He added more. It is weird, but I like it. It actually shows a filmmaker with a vision that can make artsy movies, something which he hasn't done since American Graffiti.
Well, technically, Star Wars is... Well, I guess Star Wars is a studio picture. But the others were art house films, weren't they? They were all self-financed and... God. Getting into the old Adam Sandler bits, The Wedding Singer and The Waterboy, which are two really... I actually really like The Waterboy, but as I was watching it, I suddenly thought, this is Adam Sandler's... Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
They are very, very similar type films, but you can kind of see that if you want to make like a real picture that has real impact and has it goes into the sort of like the digest of like, oh my god, pop culture. You know, there's a way to do a film, and then there's this Adam Sandler way to do a film, which I guess is just a footnote in history.
Then that impression, or not even an impression, that voice he puts on get on your nerves by like halfway through the movie.
No, I kind of like it that he was able to commit and carry on doing it the whole way through the film.
it got to me, man.
And his mum is just brilliant in
Oh
that.
God,
Kathy Bates.
yeah, insane,
Yeah.
insane. Jealous over the girlfriend. I remember the
Yeah.
film well. Actually, I
Yeah.
didn't mind the film. I didn't mind it. It was actually pretty fun.
Yeah, that Happy Gilmore and the Wedding Singer and You Don't Mess with Zohan. I like his
Oh,
films that I like.
don't think Zohan's up there.
No,
Nah.
I would grab a copy on Blu-ray now if I was you. I'd imagine that's going to be one of the films that's going to probably go out of print and probably become very difficult to find because it's
Yeah.
very culturally offensive.
No, we'll get to that when we start talking
We'll get
about
to that in a bit. The Wedding Singer. If you like the 80s, you got to watch this because that film is just pure 80s through and through.
it. Yeah.
And it's obviously the first of many collaborations with Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
This is when I was in love with her, man.
Oh, still lovely. There's something about Mary. Now, I watched that last night.
Very cool.
I remember I must have rented this because this came out in '98. I didn't go to see it at cinema, so I must have rented this on VHS. This is how old this film is. And I remember, for whatever reason, I didn't like it.
How? You keep saying this. I keep hearing you talk about the first time you saw a movie, you hated it, but they're great movies. So what was going on in your mind back in those days?
No idea.
It's a great film.
Between then and now, which is like 20-odd years, I never really gave it much thought or watched it again. And I watched it last night, and I'm watching it, and I'm having the same thought of you as you already. I'm thinking, what the hell is wrong with you? This is a really good film.
God, when he... I still baffled my mind over what was going on with the zipper, with his ball sack. Like, how could you get all the way up and still have it out through the zipper?
That looks so painful. I know it's not something like you kind of do it and you kind of like, how is that even possible, right?
No.
But I guess he's a nervous teenager. He's looking out the window at these birds. All of a sudden, he's a peeping Tom. And he's just in a rush, and you can imagine someone doing that. But you never want to be the person who's ever done that.
Damn.
And then like seeing like the dad come in, and then the mum, and then the police officer, and the fireman. It's brilliant. It's really good. Yeah. If you haven't seen There's Something About Mary, or if you haven't seen it in a long time,
everybody's seen it.
Well, actually, so I tweeted it out, and Akila actually says it's one that she doesn't actually like.
What? So whoever you were, the mole from 20 years ago is who Akira is now. You would have got on really well.
So 20 years from now, she'll probably think it's a bona fide classic. And lastly, I watched Some Kind of Wonderful. So I don't know if you've heard of this one, Eddie, but this is a John Hughes film. So it's another one of these 80s films. It's one that you don't hear much of very often, but it came out the year after Pretty in Pink. And this is literally Pretty in Pink, but a gender bender.
It's flipped.
It's flipped. So instead of like a girl who is essentially not well off and wants to get into like the rich and popular crowd, it's but has a best friend who's a guy who's obsessed with her, but is really in love with her, but is a bit of a jerk. This is exactly the same film, but it's a guy who's not well off, who has a female friend who's a bit of a jerk, but is really into him, and he's really into Leah Thompson. And oh my God, having watched Back to the Future so many times, you never ever realize how attractive Leah Thompson actually was in the 80s, because in this film she is absolutely gorgeous.
I did.
Now, the thing with Pretty in Pink was, with test audiences, apparently the ending tested really badly because Molly Ringwald ends up with her jerk best friend John Cryer, and the audiences didn't like that. They wanted her to end up with the rich guy, which actually, if you think about it, says all sorts of weird things about Molly Ringwald's psychology, because she has been treated really badly by all the rich kids at school, yet she's desperate to like get into that circle, even though she doesn't belong there. So it's a bit weird. Whereas in Some Kind of Wonderful, it's the opposite kind of end. He gets the rich girl, but then realizes he should actually be with his best friend, who is played by Mary Stuart Masterson, right? Go and check out a clip of this somewhere. She looks like the spitting image at that age of Mackenzie Davis, because she's actually got like short cut hair in that movie, like how Mackenzie Davis generally tends to have it. And I'm watching it, and I was like, wow, if you put these two actresses side by side, they almost look identical.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I've got to really go into the whole John Hughes back catalogue because a lot of that stuff I haven't watched since it came out. A lot of that, I don't know why, but except for Breakfast Club, I think it's the only one I've revisited since.
Ferris Bueller's the one I've seen probably the most, and Plane, Trains and Automobiles.
Oh yeah, and that one.
Yeah,
I really want to see that one again.
Really I've just got that on Blu-ray come through the post. That and Uncle Buck.
Yes. See, these are fun. I forget some of them. See, I only ever think of when I think of John Hughes, the teen dramas.
Yeah,
but forget that there were other ones as well.
Yeah. So
Uncle
after
Buck.
there's Some Kind of Wonderful, I don't know whether it was just they weren't getting huge critical acclaim or they weren't big money spinners, but you can see a dramatic change in his work. He started doing Planes, Trains and Automobiles and Uncle Buck and then Home Alone, and then it literally was just like not the John Hughes kind of films you'd want to really watch.
Yeah.
But what probably made a lot of money.
That's it.
Yeah. So I think I've got a couple more to watch, but there's one that I've never seen before that I'm going to queue up maybe this weekend called She's Having a Baby, which I think he's gone beyond like the high school crowd now and gone into like adult life.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll give a shout out to Space Force. So
I tried.
You've just been put off by the bad reviews.
No, it was before the reviews. It was literally when it came out. I started watching it and it was like, this is horrible. It's not funny.
No, it is funny, man. Did you see the episode where, I think it's the second episode where China has sabotaged his satellite and they've got to try and fix the satellite somehow. And he literally attempts to get like a chimpanzee to do a spacewalk and go out there with like tools and fix it. And it is fucking funny.
Really? Because you seem to be on your own with this one. Because
listen,
I have after watching it, since I saw it, the first ep, heard like the reviews on the whole season, and it is getting ripped apart.
People say that. I generally, I would say make up your own mind by watching a few episodes. I thoroughly have enjoyed it so far. I've got one episode left. I mean, it's the same thing with The Office, right? If you watch the first 2 seasons of The Office, it's terrible. It's really bad. Like, if they did that today, that show would not have lasted 10 years. It would not have got the chance to come, like, into its own and become, like, the popular show that it has become.
Okay. I'll take your word for that, because I ain't going to watch more of that. It was horrible. I did not like it at all.
What have you been watching?
The only real thing I've been really getting into this week was basically I kept hearing about this documentary. People were mentioning it on literally all different types of podcasts, all different types of shows. People kept talking about The Last Dance. Michael Jordan, The Last Chance.
Oh, this is the sports one, right?
Yes, I figured. And look, people who aren't even into basketball. So I'm thinking, all right, let me give this a go. It's on Netflix, week by week. People seem to love it. Let me check it out. So good. And the thing is, I don't know why, but there was a moment in history when I was watching basketball properly.
Oh yeah, I think there was. Was this when, like, on Channel 4 it was like a big thing? And
this is probably
there were, like, loads of basketball films coming out.
And this is actually during the late 90s when this documentary really focuses on. So it was actually kind of cool because you recognize, even if you never watch basketball, it doesn't matter. This documentary is presented in such a way that it just makes it so engaging because the main anchor of the show, of the documentary, focuses on the last year of this golden age of the Bulls, the Chicago Bulls, with Michael Jordan. So is this like a
Michael Jordan era, right?
Yeah, Jordan, Pippen, all the boys. And it focuses on that last hurrah for them to try and get the championship. But it also keeps jumping back to different moments in time, to Jordan when he was in high school and various different years during when Bulls weren't doing good. And on the side of that, it also focuses on each episode on different members, so on Pippen and all these other guys. And it's really fascinating. And I've always heard how much of a bastard Michael Jordan is.
Really?
Yes.
I've always heard stories. You're ruining the image I have of this man.
I've always heard stories that he's just this horrible, because he's competitive to the point of it just being infuriating. Like, he has to bet on everything. he screams at everybody. He's just like like a general. And
so he's like the Maradona of basketball then.
Worse. And to see it, like he is I would not want, like I admire him as a basketball player. Like the man is legit greatness, but I would not want to know him. I would not want to meet him.
Fuck.
This guy's horrible.
Really? I gotta watch this now. Cause I obviously everybody knows Michael Jordan, right? Whether you follow basketball or not, like he was like the face of Nike for such a long time. I think didn't even retire and then come out of retirement.
Yeah,
and
it has that in this. Retired.
He seems to have played.
Went to baseball.
Yes, I remember that.
Because his dad, it goes into all of that stuff, man, with his dad and all of that and what happened, and then he comes back. Cool. Yeah, not a nice guy, Mo.
Oh, I think you've just sold me on this because I wasn't going to watch it at all because I was just kind of like, documentaries aren't really my thing unless they're a specific subject or matter that I really like. So sports was never going to be one of those, but I think I want to check this out now.
Yeah, dude, there's so many you got to watch because you haven't watched the Epstein one either. That's worth watching.
Yeah. I think for me, it's really getting the motivation to watch documentaries is really difficult. But once you start watching them, if they're good, I'll carry on because I'd rather just watch like an adventure show or an action show or a sci-fi show.
That's why I never watched the Tiger King one either, innit? You just...
Yeah, I wasn't really into the Tiger King. That just looked too reality TV for me.
No, but it wasn't. Yeah. It was amazing.
It was.
It was amazing. There's a reason why the world has been gripped by that show, bro. The world has been gripped.
Hold on, something really weird has happened with that story now, hasn't it? Has he like died or something? Or isn't there something in the papers about Carol Baskin is now getting like her hands on his estate or something?
Yeah, and you would know if you'd watch it or how that happens. It all sets it up in there to why that has happened. So you have to watch it.
Yeah, I just don't care enough about like some redneck gun-touting...
It's not about that. It's hilarious. It's a comedy. Seriously, it's amazing. But yeah, watch The Last Ride. It's not Last Ride, Last Dance.
The Last Dance.
Very good. Last Ride is the Undertaker documentary, which is also worth watching, guys. Check that out.
I will be watching that. I have got some episodes. I see he's been actually doing some interviews with ESPN over the last week or so.
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah, everywhere. It's so weird seeing him. That's the hard thing about watching The Last Ride.
Yeah.
Is I swear they only named it that to jump on the Jordan bandwagon because that was already being aired at that time.
But isn't The Last Ride one of his finishing moves or one of his moves?
But it's just a random thing to call when The Last Dance is blowing up around the world. So, But anyway, it's such a weird thing to watch it because all these years since I was a kid, Undertaker never broke character. It was always this, I am the Dark Man, you rest in peace. And to hear him now just talking about, my kids and my wife and la-di-da, it's like, what the fuck? Who is this? Weird.
It's the internet age, right? Although he was giving he was talking about the what should we call it? The screw job, the Montreal screw job in the interview that I saw. So knowing that he was like there in the locker room as well while all that was going down.
Yeah, it's worth watching.
Yeah, right. Anything else you've been watching?
No, that's the crux of it, mainly.
Right, should we get into the trailers?
So
we've had some trailers drop this week that are actually worth talking about.
Finally.
And one of the big ones, I actually didn't realize it's still saying coming summer 2020, so I don't actually know when this is coming out. But Bill and Ted 3, we have the first teaser.
Didn't like it.
I
don't want to see an old Bill and Ted.
So hold on. So tell me something. They've aged him, right? They put makeup on his face to make him. He does not look. No, he does not look.
The reason why you're saying that, Mo, is because you've only really seen him recently in the John Wick roles.
Yeah,
and he's had a full beard in that. Like he shaved that off for the Bill and Ted. Yeah. So now you're seeing his true face, which we haven't seen for years. We haven't seen his face for a long time.
I'm sure I read somewhere that they had to make him look older for the role because it all looks fake. His face looks all chubby and like.
That's what he looks like now.
No,
look at pictures of him going to premieres and stuff. That's what he looks like.
I'm gonna have to look this up, but I'm pretty sure they've made him look older.
That's why he grew the beard for the John Wick films because it covers up all of that weirdness that his face is slowly melting into.
Oh, that's a bit disappointing then because I genuinely thought like the dude was like a vampire and
Dude,
he never
50.
aged.
He's 50. The guy's in his 50s now, man. Come on. Let him age.
There's enough in there to get me excited to want to see this. I don't know if it'll get me excited enough to go to a cinema. I mean, that was difficult enough. But I think it'll be full of like callbacks to the originals. It'll be full of like callbacks to the 80s and the 90s. I love the fact that they're acknowledging death is in this
Death
film
is
as well.
back. Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of like that. And the other one, Alex Winters, he looks as though he's just effortlessly like just gone back into that role.
Yeah, he really looks like he hasn't aged. He looks the same.
He
Crazy.
he has aged, but he still seems like he's acting like a teenager.
Yeah. See, it looks weird with Keanu, him acting like that. He just seems a bit off seeing him act like that. Yeah,
like they never grew up.
Yeah, but yeah, I wasn't that. I'm not. Yeah, I'll maybe give it a go. I'm not gonna go cinema to see it, but yeah.
Yeah. Along with this, apparently Studio Canal owns the rights to the original film in Europe. So they've announced that they've apparently just restored the original movie and are doing like a nice 4K release. So I'm really looking forward to that because I really do like. So 2, they don't own the distribution rights. It's another company. I think that belongs to MGM.
Why do these people do this? These companies split the rights to these different sequels, and it becomes an annoying thing for people like you who buy everything.
Yeah. It's really weird because even other films that I'm looking at, like I've been buying discs left, right, and center over the last like month or so, and just seeing like it's released by Paramount in like the US, but in Europe it's somebody else. And the worst ones were New Line. New Line used to outsource all their European or global films to a company called EVI, Entertainment in something. I can't remember what they stood for. This company was genuinely a shitty company, like doing really shitty jobs of like the transfers, like shitty extras, shitty packaging, just didn't care.
Yeah, it's no.
Really, really bad. We also have, I actually forgot the title of this one, but it's
Eurovision.
Is it just called? It's got a subtitle. It's like this Fire Star Saga or something.
It's the Eurovision movie. There's no other Eurovision movie. Come on.
Starring Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams.
I like this. This looks so much better. This looks fun. Never go wrong with a Will Ferrell movie.
Did you read the YouTube comments?
No.
There was a lot of hate. They were like, who asked for this? Why are they doing this? Why is an American involved in like a Eurovision movie?
You have to remember, if you're American watching this or listening to us, you have to remember that you probably have no idea what the Eurovision was before seeing this. There are countries, even we in the UK don't necessarily take it that seriously anymore.
Oh, there are some people who do.
But there are people in Europe, especially in Europe, where they have a chance of winning, let's say. That they take this so seriously that this is something they ramp up to every year, where they select their one singer or one group and they put them into this Eurovision Song Contest.
It's a very political show as well, right? Because they do strategic voting.
That's why England never win. That's why we don't take it that seriously anymore, because we know we can never win.
You say that I remember there was a guy I used to work with in my previous job. Him and his wife and I think his in-laws, they used to have like a Eurovision party. On Eurovision, like they'd all go around there and
so mad.
And get together.
It was a thing, especially in the 80s and 90s. Like, and it's horrible though. The music is horrible. It's not like it's good music. It's horrible music. Barely call it music. That's why this looks funny, because they just completely taking the piss out of it.
That's what I like. I do wonder, and we'll probably speak about it once we start looking at the news, whether this is the last poke at like international culture, and is it all about to become too sensitive to do any of this?
We can't. It has to, because there's nothing more fun than taking a piss out of another country.
Yeah. Well, in fact, actually, should we just go? We're going to go into the news now. Should we just go straight into that particular topic?
Do it.
Right. So obviously, we've been seeing some events happening across the world in protest of things that have happened in the US in the last couple of weeks. Some very, very sad things.
And happen around the world, to be honest.
And it's having like a cultural global backlash everywhere, potentially, right? So we're seeing protests in London, we're seeing protests in other parts of the world.
The Middle East. I saw a mural in the Middle East of all countries. What?
Yeah, in the Middle East, though, they're like racist against themselves over there, right? So if you're like a particular caste or like you come from a particular background, they'll be racist towards you. Very, very odd. So reports have started coming in earlier this week of content being removed from particular services. So Matt Lucas, I don't know if you've ever watched Little Britain, Eddie.
Yep.
So he I think he probably saw the writing on the wall. So he came out quite early in the week and actually says that he's actually really sorry that he ever did blackface in Little Britain. Now, I've never watched Little Britain. All I know about Little Britain is
blackface. I don't remember him doing. I
guess
exactly. They must have, but
the two things I remember about Little Britain, and I've never seen the show, is and I might even be getting this from the wrong show. I'm the only gay in the village, and computer says no.
Yeah, that's Little Britain. Yep.
Yeah.
And also Bo Selector. Have you heard that
guy? Bo Selector. Yeah.
His main characters was like Craig David, Michael Jackson, and Mel B. So he's been at like, I'm sorry, blah blah blah. Yeah. I never even thought of even to think that.
No, absolutely. He's obviously a clairvoyant, right? Because he's come out and says, I really apologize. So no one called him out or anything. No one but
no one gives a shit.
No, he got ahead of it and said this, and literally days later, like Little Britain and Bo Selector and something else got pulled from like BritBox. Now people might be saying, "What the fuck is BritBox?"
It's like a budget Netflix just for Brits.
It's run by like ITV and BBC, and it's like I'm surprised if they got more than 5 subscribers.
I was talking to Uz about this.
Yep.
On the DC versus Marvel podcast, check it out.
Yep.
About like feeling about, I'm not that into the idea of pulling all this content and acting like this stuff never existed.
Yep.
Like, I think part of the awareness of all of this is to remind ourselves that this stuff existed. Maybe to have some sort of disclaimer at the beginning or something, to let people know that this is a capsule of a moment in time, that it's important that we remember how we've evolved and changed. Acting like it didn't exist makes certain people think that what is the big fuss, because they act like it's never been a thing. Like if you're looking years from now, like a generation from now, they're going to be like, why are you acting like certain people are portrayed in a certain way when they've never seen the movies, because the movies aren't available to be seen. So they don't really, it's stupid. You shouldn't wipe these things away. You can't learn if you can't see it.
So there's two things I want to say about that, right? So if you really care about these, being able to watch these things, buy the damn show, right? It's available for you to buy on like DVD, Blu-ray, or whatever. That's the only way. No. Yeah, but this is it. People keep going, oh, I don't need physical media. This is why you need physical media, because anything can disappear. No one can really come into your home and say, right, this is not acceptable anymore, and take it off your shelf.
Who wants to have Little Britain on their fucking shelf, man? That's a horrible
Well, if you really care about the stuff not being available, then you've got to buy it. In fact, I was on a forum where a guy goes, I've had Little Britain on eBay to sell for years. And he goes, all of a sudden this morning it sold. And he goes, I really should have adjusted the price.
Like there's a bunch. I remember even in the 90s.
Yeah.
Probably even in the 80s. Like there were shows from the 70s. You probably remember them all. Like things like Rising Damp. Like British sitcoms, which that was about like a suburban house and a landlord, and he had this black guy move into his building. And there was always this weird little racial thing going on there, him making jokes about chucking spears, and it was all racial, but it was important because you'd learn, it taught people, because it was a positive portrayal of this black guy who was intelligent, living with this, it's a whole, I don't even know how to articulate it all, but
there is two sides to this story, right? So all the things you've said are absolutely true, but the other side of it is, it'll be interesting to see if you feel the same, right? But there could be a certain segment of society that could see like blackface, right, and actually be really upset about it. Yeah. And it could be something that's like, it's almost like, right, you're upsetting people, but you're still doing this to get a cheap laugh. Like I said, I've never seen the show, so I don't actually know what levels of severity it gets to. But the very next day, I think it was Wednesday, news broke that HBO Max had pulled Gone with the Wind. Right?
Yeah, I think that was what sparked my discussion with Uz.
Yeah.
But you don't own any of the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, do you?
No, I haven't, because they only put a couple of seasons out on Blue.
Yeah, you might have to start buying those because some of those
I
are gonna go.
Let's just say
A whole
I have
bunch of
them all.
those. A
I
whole.
have them all.
Oh, okay, good. I have to go because that's gonna disappear soon, guys. You're watching it on Netflix. I bet a couple of those episodes are gonna get edited.
But I think
Lethal
with
Weapon, Lethal Weapon 4,
Lethal Weapon,
Lethal Weapon 4 episodes. They're in blackface, retelling the continuation of Lethal Weapon.
Oh right, I haven't actually seen them before. That's the one with Jet Li, right?
No, I mean in Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, in Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
When they make their own Lethal Weapon movie and they're in blackface. Right. You forget.
But I think they're very clever about the way they do things. It's always the thing is always at their expense. There's always a lesson that they learn at the end of the episode, which they choose to ignore.
But will Fox, a la Disney, feel the same way? Or will they just decide to...
So there's already a thing happening at Disney apparently. So they're not renewing a lot of the distribution deals for physical releases for any of the Fox stuff. So all the Fox stuff is now going out of print. And if you start looking on eBay and Amazon, used copies are going for like a lot more than you would be willing to be prepared to pay for them.
Movies.
Yeah. So like if you look at, I was looking at this, right? Things like some films that aren't even that great. Like, well, I say not great. I like them, but other people might not. Like things like Tomcats, Euro Trip. You look at the prices on Amazon, mate, 60 odd quid.
Wow. So you
better
get them Alien box sets quick then, because they're gonna just.
Oh yeah, so a lot of the stuff is going to go. Hopefully, they're not renewing the deals because they can do a new, like, better deal at a later stage. But apparently, word is coming out. Disney just have no interest in releasing any of the Fox stuff on disc.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's that's just a whole nother thing there. But the thing with Gone with the Wind, so Gone with the Wind, apparently they pulled it temporarily and they're going to put it back up with some additional content. So either like a disclaimer at the beginning, or maybe even like a 5-minute roundtable discussion to say that this is a snapshot of a particular time in history. But have you actually ever seen Gone with the Wind?
I don't think I've ever watched it. I remember it being on TV, but I've never been interested. I think because of the reason it takes place on a plantation, so the only black people were like help.
Yeah, exactly. So I have seen it as a child, and apparently I went and did some reading about this. So actually, this is probably a film that everyone should actually watch, right? Because what it does is it at the beginning it gives you this snapshot of a fake, really idealistic Southern community that didn't really exist, but it made it look like this is like the best place in the world to live and it's great. And then you're hit with the harsh reality, right? Where the South then go to war with the North over basically economic reasons, right? And the economic reasons being we can make more money by having slaves do all the work, right? Yeah. And they get brutalized. They get absolutely savagely beaten back. And you see the reality of their existence.
That's so Gone with the Wind.
That's Gone with the Wind, right?
I thought it was just a love story between Bogart and some, not even Bogart, whatever the other guy.
But that's like the backdrop for the film, right?
Okay.
So I don't think it like really romanticizes any of that kind of stuff. And again, this is the film. So if you watched Hollywood, the black actress that Queen Latifah played, I think, is supposed to be the actress from Gone with the Wind, right? Where she was the first black actress to win an Oscar.
Oh, wasn't allowed to
go. Yeah, she wasn't. So basically, she turns up and they wouldn't let her in, and she kicks up a fuss. They eventually let her in, but she's got to sit, like she can't sit with the rest of her crew, rest of her like castmates.
Fucked up.
Yeah.
See, that should be something that's in the disclaimer or some sort of footage of that afterwards in the thing. But yeah, but like I said, yeah, these things in certain contexts should be available to be talked about and discussed. Shouldn't just be ignored and disappeared. Like, I know that Disney always try and keep Song for the South. I'm not saying that Song of the South or For the South should be available on Disney Plus, because it shouldn't. But there should be some way that a discussion should be, maybe some sort of documentary where they can hands up, admit and talk about it on the platform or something. But yeah, you know about Song.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if you go and read back into like Walt Disney himself, man, it's actually eye-opening. It's eye-opening, really, isn't it? Yeah, like the image that the Walt Disney Company has cultivated, and then you find out about Walt himself, and you're like, whoa,
piece of shit. Yeah,
yeah.
crazy.
I guess sticking with Disney for a moment, Disney Plus. So rumors are coming out. Some of the shows, the original shows that are going to be coming out later this year, might only be half seasons, right? So we're talking about WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So if you think that these shows only run for like 6 to 8 episodes, a half a season is literally like 3 or 4 episodes. That's all you will be getting this year, potentially.
I would be surprised if they're that short, to be honest, considering how long we've heard about them being in production up until the COVID hit. I'll be surprised if there's that little. Especially WandaVision.
It would not surprise me because while we've spoken in the past about post-production being done at home, apparently there are a lot of challenges happening. So a lot of companies just weren't geared up to do this. And one of the biggest things that you can't do is get an orchestra together, right, to do like your music. So that's having an impact as well. So I can kind of see where actually they may be in a situation where they can only release a handful of episodes, but they have to release them because they need new content.
Yeah. True, but they held. If you've got Plus, you know that they've held a lot of content back on there, so they've got plenty of stuff they can put on there. To be honest,
yeah, I still haven't subscribed. I've booked a week off at like the end of August, so I might subscribe and get 7 days free trial out of that. But I don't think it'll be something that I'd stick with.
Even though I've been working at home, I need a fucking holiday, man. Cause I need to just not work and just relax.
Oh yeah, you absolutely need to. You absolutely need to do that because otherwise, you do find all you're doing is working.
Yeah, it's driving me mad.
Yeah.
Serious.
So Len Wiseman set to direct female-centric John Wick spin-off Ballerina.
Yeah, there it was. In the last, you've seen Parabellum, the John Wick 3.
I have not yet. No, I've never seen John Wick 2 yet.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, there's a part in there. I believe it's in Parabellum, where he goes to a ballet school, and basically this ballet school it's kind of like with the Black Widow's school, where all of these ballerinas are basically assassins being trained to be assassins. So Len Wiseman saw this and thought, "Oh, that's cool. This sort of ballet school, this front, that's a ballet school, which these ballerinas are actually trained to be assassins. I could make something of that. I got an idea." So he got in contact with the John Wick guys, the brains behind it all, pitched them an idea. They loved it. And they've all kind of collaborated. And he's going to make the movie based on that character from that ballet school.
Right.
So it's going to be in the universe, but it's on, because they know that they're doing the TV show for John Wick and all of this. So it's just an expansion of the universe.
So this is turning into like one of those like multi-cinematic universes now.
Yeah. But
TV shows, spin-offs.
Could be cool, though. Could be cool. I don't trust Len Wiseman, though.
Yeah.
Because he's the man that did Total Recall remake and the Underworld films.
Oh,
yeah.
Total Recall remake. Oh.
Yeah. Pretty to look at, but not a great story.
So this is essentially Lucy or Anna or Atomic Blonde or Nikita.
Yeah. Which I'm all for, because they're fun. They're fun films. But would you want to see an assassin ballet school in that universe?
So I've only seen the first John Wick movie, which I thought was great. I really thought it was a good film. If they can balance like the action and the adventure and the comedy together in the right quantities, could be great.
With a kick-ass female lead,
Absolutely.
ballerina.
Who doesn't like to see a waif, thin, tiny woman take on like really big, massive guys?
See, you put it like that, then I'm less interested, because I don't like it when they're too bony. It's just believable, really.
Wasn't that Salim's problem with something like Atomic Blonde? Did he have this discussion? Like, he goes, "It's found it unbelievable that."
To a degree, But I think Charlize does it better than most. But I think it was a bigger issue for me with Anna, maybe, because she was just way too wafy.
She was
to be believable.
She was very, very wafy. And lastly, so the Corona effect. Some very interesting stuff coming out of here about a leaked report. Apparently, The Sun, of all places, of all newspapers, is reporting that there is a 22-page document from Film Editors Trade Association has outlined. Oh, for fuck's sake! This page is loading, and it's just loaded an advert right where I was reading.
Oh, man.
Has outlined how sets should stick to social distancing, with plans for stars to be taught the correct hand washing techniques and auditions to be held behind plexiglasses, right? But they've also gone right into things like how physical contact, so things, like kissing, sex scenes and all that, should basically be eliminated for the time being from films.
Oh!
Or done with CGI. CGI sex scenes.
Now, no one's actually explained this, but this is how I'm presuming they would do this if they were to use CGI for a sex scene.
Yeah.
I would presume they would get...
So they're saying close contact moments, but we know what they mean.
Yeah. I presume they would get, kind of like when they did things like the Joy of Sex books and videos, they would usually get a couple in real life.
Yeah.
People who are willing to be naked in front of cameras. I'm presuming they would do that with body doubles who are a couple for the actors, to the two actors getting down, and they would do the whole dot on the face to replace the faces, because they do that with stunts. They just replace the faces of the stunt people with digitally now. So I presume that's how they would do it, with just digitally remove the faces and change them, and have the couple just get down.
So that leads to another really interesting question, right? Because sometimes people will base a marketing campaign on a film where an actress who's highly sought after may now suddenly be showing parts of her body that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
But if they go down this road, then essentially you're seeing somebody else's body, and maybe you wouldn't even CGI the body parts, right? You might make it, I guess, look a little bit more. Yeah.
Just has to be a close enough body double. I guess this is something which is only possible now, which you couldn't ever do before with deep fake. We're seeing with the deep fake footage where it's possible now. And sometimes it looks better. Like, have you ever seen the footage from The Irishman, where someone did it themselves? They de-aged Hero, and it looks so much better than what was in the film. As in, he looks so much more convincing as a young actor. And if you can imagine slight more tweaks here and there with an effects team, that would have been so much more convincing than what we got.
So what you're saying is, if I get myself into shape, right, I could get a job as a body double.
There you go. Do it. Do it, man.
A whole new career avenue.
Yeah. But I guess that's how they could do that. But do I wanna? No, I want to see Jennifer Lawrence for real.
So I guess because there's obviously people like Jennifer Lawrence who are so famous that they don't have to be pressured into doing something like that. Maybe later in life when fame is starting to slide or whatever. But like, obviously doing something like that is quite a difficult thing, I'd imagine, for an actress, right? Because you're not just doing that in front of one person. There is like an entire crew there. Yeah. And I know on some sets they have like, there's a particular phrase for it. I can't remember what it is. Close set. There are rules that you have to employ, and there's a way you have to treat the actress. Basically, make sure that
that's something that's modern as well. They've sort of hired people that come in and teach that you can only touch this way, and it's all choreographed, and it's like
but there's also stuff about being quite sensitive about it, not leaving her like bare all the time. So like, if you have to cut, that somebody comes and gives you a towel or like a dressing gown or something. You're not just sitting there while people are walking around.
Do it like a European movie where we don't give a fuck. Everyone just lays it out. Everyone's walking around naked on the set. No one cares.
You say that, Eddie. I bet if you had to be lying naked in a bed in front of like a load of people, you'd be very self-conscious. But this then also shows like there's Hollywood and then there's Tom Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Tom Cruise, like for his films, he learns to fly a helicopter. He literally straps himself to the side of an airplane. Right.
He said he's gonna learn to fuck.
No. So what Tom Cruise has done, he's essentially created a coronavirus-free village on an RAF base in Oxfordshire.
Yes.
So Mission Impossible 7 can resume filming. And I wonder if they're going to start doing that on a lot more film sets, right? Because his rationale is like, well, hotels are shut, so we can't use them. Plus, he goes, if we can keep everyone self-contained, we don't have to worry about spreading. We don't have to worry about people getting sick. And
it makes sense. You make this little village, test everybody as they're coming in, and the crew.
Yep.
So
and
once they're
quarantine
cleared,
them if you have to. Yeah.
That's it. Once they're cleared, everyone can just. But you know what I see happening? That you kind of get once you have a crew for 2 months in one place, you might end up having like an Olympic Village type situation.
Yeah.
You ever heard the stories of the Olympic Village, Mo?
Yep.
Where everyone just starts fucking. Everyone just gets it on because they're just so stir crazy as being alone, and everyone just gets it on.
I don't know how practical this is though, right? Because obviously a lot of his films do location shooting, right? When you're seeing London, you're actually seeing that they are in the streets of London. They're not like in some other place they've dressed it up and it's not CGI, unless they start using that technology from The Mandalorian.
Well, no, they can still go to locations. They just don't get in contact with other people when they go there. They just keep themselves isolated as they travel to these places.
That becomes a lot more difficult once you're outside of like your little village closed area.
But if it's a close set, blocked up roads, then they don't have to come in contact with people.
It's an interesting idea actually, and I hadn't realised that. And apparently they've had to push the July 2021 release of Mission Impossible back to November of 2021, and apparently they've then pushed Mission Impossible 8 a whole year back to November 2022. So they're actually coming out in very quick succession.
But still a whole year away, man. That's a bummer.
Yeah, but just like Cruise, man, just to do it bigger and better than like everybody else.
Yeah. When was the original release date for
it? So the original release date
would have been summer, I guess.
July 2021. So it's been pushed back from that to November, but apparently it's already been delayed a couple of times before then. So I don't know whether that was just Corona. I don't know if he's had an injury on set or anything, and they've had to like stop filming.
Oh well.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end of the news portion.
That's it, guys.
Yeah.
So we're putting our feet up, gonna relax. Actually went longer than we managed to squeeze an hour out of that. It's pretty respectable.
Oh, yeah, easily, yeah. Guys, if you want some additional content, do keep an eye out for our original versus remake. We will be doing another one very shortly. We've just done La Femme Nikita versus Assassins, or Point of No Return, as it's now called. And we will be doing very shortly
Dawn of the Dead.
No, that's right. The Dawn of the Dead versus the John Romero versus the Zack Snyder.
Yes, from the 60s.
I think it's late 70s and then mid 2000s.
Into the 2000s. Yes, and if you want to watch them beforehand, they're both on YouTube, so go ahead and check them out. Yeah. So guys. So from me to Reese. Oh, Mo, how can they get in contact with us if they want to do so?
I was going to say, right, so folks, if you want to email us, we are at t8tmpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Talking Movies 3. I've actually been quite quiet on Twitter over the last 2 weeks, just purely because of the stuff that's going on, and I just didn't really want to be tweeting about films and all that sort of stuff, but that'll become more active again. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, we are at Talking Movies.
You're breaking up, turning robotic. What's going on? Guys, check out all the other shows on the Voltron Network, DC versus Marvel podcast, the bonus shows for this, and Wrestling Ruckus. And if you want to watch the videos, you can go to Voltron Network, 2 words, on YouTube, and you can get to see our hideously disfigured faces as you watch us. So before we go, man, what do you think of PS5?
Right. You know what? I historically, apart from the first 2, I've never really been interested in PlayStation. But last night, I decided, some of the trailers are up in 4K. So I watched the Ratchet and Clank, and the Spider-Man one in 4K on my telly.
Ratchet and Clank actually impressed me.
It looked really good.
Never wanted to care for a Ratchet and Clank game, but that looked, just the particles, everything exploding, and just the chaos and jumping through the portals. It just looked really cool.
I am really surprised. I actually didn't think the jump between PS4, I've got a Pro, and that was going to be that huge. It looks incredibly large, right? That Spider-Man stuff. We still need to see whether that's in-game footage or whether they're just doing a a fast one. I've got a feeling it is in-game footage because otherwise there'll be a huge backlash.
I think they tried to say that it's at least in-game engine as it's. So we're seeing what the models of what the game is playing.
I also watched the Gran Turismo 7 because that did look amazing. Now I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of those. When I play a racing game, I like to just drive. I don't like this realism shit. I just want to, burn round corners and smash into things.
What I didn't like about Turismo is that it showed a very basic. It was a basic track in the sunlight. Yeah. If you're showing off next gen technology, you want to show weather. You want to show particles. You want to show cars crashing on the sides and the rain hitting the window and the mud. Yeah, it was very generic race. So it didn't really.
That might be because it might still be in early development. The Gran Turismo games are notorious for being delayed by years. What did you think of the actual look of the console? Have you seen all the memes?
Well, people saying it's like a book or a router or something, but I thought it looked nice.
No, it looks fine, but it just looks like it's again the designs. They've done this with the PlayStation 4, basically where all the grooves are just dust just goes in there and it's so difficult to get it out.
Yeah. It's gonna. That's the first thing I thought when I saw that sort of groove in the middle where it goes down into the back. Yeah. I thought that's just gonna fill with dust and hair and all sorts of crap you're gonna have to hoover out.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I think it looks nice.
You know what? I've just realised we forgot to talk about Hartley Sawyer. I don't know if you want to do that or if you've already done it on your other podcast.
We did it on the other one, so
right.
That's all right. What one do you prefer? The one with if you're to buy one, Mo, if you're going to fork out for one, disc?
Probably will buy one.
Or no disc?
Fucking disc. Absolutely disc, right? Because I understand why people like the digital side of things, but there are two reasons, right, where I find it quite difficult. So one is if you don't like a game anymore, if you didn't like it in the first place, you can always just sell it, right? Take it into game and trade it or CEX. Number two, a lot of these games are going to be 4K games, right? The size is going to be massive, even though they're putting a terabyte in the hard drive, right? If you look at the PS4 games, they come on a Blu-ray, which is 50 gigs, and then some days day one patch is another 50 gigs.
Yeah. I think Final Fantasy 5 or 7, where the fuck it is. That's 100 gigs. God, how much is how big is some of these other games going to be on there?
Exactly.
So ridiculous.
So you better get 9 games. If each one is about 100 gig, you better get 9 on there, right? Take into that you don't actually get a full terabyte plus some of the OS we're using it up.
And pray you've got a good and to download
Exactly. So if you want to get another game, you've got to delete one. You can always download it again. But literally, how long does it take some people to download 100 gig? And those PlayStation servers are not fast.
No, man. Yeah, it does make sense. And the problem is, digital, it'd be fine if there was a big discrepancy in the price where, non-physical would be really cheap. But it ain't. Most times, it's half bloody same price.
Yeah, so there is a reasoning behind that, and it's more around the fact that if you, say as a company, Sony, start selling your digital games cheaper than what you can buy them from in the shop, right? You suddenly then anger all your retail partners who are saying, well, hold on a minute, what the fuck? We sell your games, but you're now cutting us out. We're not going to sell your consoles anymore. That puts Sony in a really difficult position.
Yeah,
and you can kind of understand it, right? Because they need the retailers to get the hardware out there.
It's true, but kind of sucks, man. Would I fork out for this? Need more games, but some of them did look pretty cool.
Did they talk price?
No.
It's going to be expensive, from what I understand. Yeah. We're probably looking at maybe $4.99.
I reckon more. $5.99.
They're supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be able to do 4K 60 frames a second, or 1080p. I think 120 frames a second.
Yeah. It still baffles me that this is still cheaper than a fucking iPhone. That's still crazy to me. It's still mad.
and people will buy a new iPhone every other year, right? Yeah. Whereas with your PlayStation, you hang on to it for 5 odd years or something.
Yeah, and they'll still bitch about 600 quid being too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy, man. With a terabyte hard drive as well.
An SSD terabyte.
Anyway, I guess that's it, guys. From me, the race.
That's me, Mo.
Most likely slowly disappearing into darkness. You really got to get a light, man. It's so bad.
Well, listen. Well, see, in here it's perfect for this.
Yeah.
Right, sit down, watch a film now, order a takeaway.
Later, guys.
Right, folks.